right striker beam out of commission, or this is going to be a real short trip. Okay, hit
it. Hey there, everyone. How's it going? Kind of an impromptu show tonight. I'm bored in a hotel room again in New York, and with me is Jason. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Looking forward to talking some models and talking a little shop.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
No, we haven't. Schedules have been a little difficult to align, but hence the impromptu. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean we talk daily about all this stuff, multiple times a day, sometimes all day. But we thought maybe we'd talk on talk a little bit to you guys, and I was talking to Jason right beforehand, and I thought maybe we would talk about some IDing of kit parts, and some thoughts on how you go about doing that. And I'm sure a lot of people are sick of hearing about my silo. I'm sure of it.
Dude, we're so sick of it, for reals. I'm
But
kidding.
I'm loving it. I really am. I'm like dying to get it done. I have a video that I should be have up next week, because I plan on finishing it this weekend for sure, painting and everything, unless I decide to repaint it again, which I did. I wasn't happy. I mean, it wasn't that I thought it was bad. It wasn't what I envisioned. So I repainted the whole thing again, which seems to be a common thing with all the models I do. Every single one that I've done, I've painted twice. I think because I get a look at it and then I realize what I did wrong, and then I do it much better the second time. But you have a different approach, don't you? You use color swatches.
Yeah, as far as the thing with painting, I shared this with you in the past when we talked, but I studied color theory and painting 20 years ago, and did it for a few years, and actually spent an extensive amount of time, with I talk to you all the time about, like, levels of color and opacity and transparency and things like that. So yeah, I definitely take a different approach to painting. It's one thing that I'm a lot more comfortable and a lot more aggressive and brazen with. I'm not as shy or apprehensive as I am with, like, a build per se. Although, everybody has their comfort levels. Yeah, I definitely take a little bit of a different approach, just because the confidence and comfort level is a little bit different. Nobody wants to get to that point where they have to repaint something. Not because it's a bad thing. It's just that we're always in such a rush to see the end product out of excitement, right? And anticipation. So it's kind of a bummer when you have to backtrack, only because you want to get to that final step. But sometimes it's one of those things where going back and forth to that process, especially when you're airbrushing, because you're not creating, thick layers. I mean, you could ultimately, but you're not really. So part of the process is, could be fun, and it's also, just a way of learning and figuring out what works, or getting a feel for what works on each piece, especially ILM style. That's something we've touched upon quite a bit recently, is the difference of just painting a model to paint it versus painting something in ILM style. And it does have its own unique sort of stamp of approval, if you will.
ILM styles actually, I find, way more simple than painting, let's say, tanks detailed. People seem like they're afraid to try it, but because they want it to look like exactly like the ships. But honestly, they just kind of slopped a lot of shit on there, and just like blotches here, spritzes here, stains there. They didn't really. It wasn't very detailed because you weren't going to see it up close.
Correct.
And like I said, like I've said a bunch of times, I've said, people ask me all the time, you know, they say, I'm afraid to start painting it, and I always say, it's just paint, man. I've learned that I'm not afraid to try something because I just paint it over again. It's just,
Mhm.
like you said, it's just airbrushing and it's real thin. So it doesn't clog up any of the details. It doesn't fill in any of the, curves and stuff like that in the details in the kit parts. It's very light. So it's easy to go over it a couple times. Like right now, my silo, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different layers on it because six altogether, 3 and 3 because there's 3 different colors for my base color. So, and you won't be able to tell whatsoever because it doesn't add any thickness at all. So
Now, if that was rattle can paint, you'd start to damage the
yes,
model. Not
it
damage
would
it, but
be.
in a way it would start to cake on. It would start to cake on in layers in such a way that you would start losing detail and fine line and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah, you would lose a lot of details. That's a thick paint, and even some of the primers you got to be a little careful with too because you'll use a certain primer and it might be too thick and lose all your detail. You
Yeah,
know,
that's
um,
true.
but did you want to talk at all about like stuff that you're working on, or like anything that you've? Do you want to touch upon what you've got in recently? Because I did save some of those pictures if you wanted to talk about it or no.
Um, as far as what I got on recently, no, I think I'm gonna wait on that. I'm gonna save that. Um,
Okay.
I like to try to. I gotta figure out how to take a few minutes and just get some better images. Um, as far
I
as
think
what
they
I'm
were pretty
working
good,
on,
especially the one with the Y wing. That was a pretty good picture.
yeah, it's got a lot of stuff in the background though that I'll try to section it off and take better images. But
All your porn and
yeah, all that good stuff.
paraphernalia for
Yeah.
dildos
As
and
far as
stuff. Yeah.
working, I've just been chasing down a lot of kits, a lot of research for some ongoing projects. Um, just kind of dabbling across the board on a few different things. Nothing specific, like nothing obsessive like you, where you've been cracking away that silo all day. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like I've been working on it where we've just been looking at image after image after image, and then you've discovered quite a few interesting things, and we've discussed that. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
we've been busy.
Kind of want to talk about that a little bit. So, okay. So I did this silo, and a lot of the kit parts are known. Okay. A lot of them are, except for a few that are hard to see. And there's only a few pictures of this thing. Okay. I mean, there might be other people who have more detailed pictures of it. I don't know of any. I don't know if they do. They're not telling me. So they might be out there, but they might not be. So I've kind of taken, I've kind of taken the pictures that I have that are kind of blurry and kind of found different ways of IDing things. Now these kit parts might actually be known to a few people, but I found them on my own. Like, so whether I made the ID or not, I have no idea because maybe somebody else that doesn't show things online already knew. But there's different ways to ID too. Like I feel like some people have to have like a perfect picture of it,
Yeah,
and a very detailed front on picture. Um and yeah, that's the way
they
to
definitely
get
need
it.
a lot of meat on the bone for sure.
Yes. And that's a definite way to get 100% accurate ID on it, okay? But like I said, if there isn't a picture front on, you kind of have to use other methods to kind of try to ID these things. So let me bring up a couple pictures here, okay? So I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't.
as you're pulling them
Wasn't.
up, one of the things that me and Chris had talked about not too long ago was as far as model kits, found parts, etc. I mean, these guys did everything as far outside the box as they possibly could, right? Not by intention, but it's just if it's a found part or a piece of this or a piece of that, it seems to be the rarest or the most difficult to find for some reason, right? It's just kind of Murphy's law. However, when you're talking about model kits, if you're working with 5 or 6 model kits and you get them all on the table and you're picking parts, you're not going to randomly say, "Hey, let me walk over to the shelf and go, 6 boxes down and reach into that and pull a random part out." 9 out of 10 times, they're going to keep picking from the kits that are in front of them. So
Right.
we've kind of, I mean, that's a given, right? But we've kind of drawn the logic where going back to what you initially stated with the whole, some people need like a definitive level of proof and certainty before they give it a thumbs up and say, yes, this is the piece, where you were kind of going like, look, this fits. It looks like it, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, kind of. And it's like, well, it's also coming from the same kit as well, or same batch of 3 or 4 kits that I'm using to build this. So it's one of those things where I feel confident that if you're working with these 3 or 4 kits and you pull a piece out that's 90% accurate, not 100, but 90% accurate, then it's fair
Mhm.
to say that that remainder 10 you can throw in there and say, this is it. Not always, but for the most part.
So basically what you're saying there is okay, so when I was talking to you about this, I wanted to find out what these parts were. Okay, so let me share this screen here. These parts, which are the triangular parts down at the bottom down here, the bottom of the can you see, is my mouse going over top of them?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, these triangular parts with the holes in the middle, right? And they haven't been ID'd yet. Okay. Most of these other ones have been, but I just was thinking about it and just kept thinking about it and thinking to myself, you know, there's this silo and then there's another kit. There's another tower over on the right hand side in this picture. And both of those towers have a lot of the same well-known parts. Okay, like like Panther G and stuff like that. C-Lab. Okay, like this one is made up of a lot of C-Lab, and so is the other one. Okay, and what I kept thinking was, it doesn't make any sense for them to grab a whole bunch of different kits. Okay, it makes sense that they're building these parts in the middle here, right? So why wouldn't they just grab a part from the same exact kit down the bottom? I kept thinking to myself, these kit parts have to be in the same model kits as the other five are that are already ID'd and known, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I came up with a theory, one theory, and I thought I was right, but I was. Jason, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. It just seems like
Okay,
I'm
because
here.
I just saw like the internet. Is my internet okay?
It's lagging a little bit. It's okay. Yeah.
No shit. All right, maybe I might have to drop off and get like pay for the extra internet. What I was saying was, I just happened to be going through one of the other kits that is already known for this silo, and just by happenstance, I found it. Like it wasn't even intentional. It wasn't like I just looked at it and I'm like, that really looks a lot like it, and I thought, well, what the hell? It's got to be it, right? So, let me find that picture. It's this one. So there were these triangular pieces in a truck kit, right? And at first glance, I thought to myself, no, they can't be it. They're just too big and bulky and too weird. But then I put them up against, and I saw the angles here at the top, and then also, like, if you look here, you can see there's a weird white stripe, like, and it turns out it was a reflection because of this rounded surface here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I was like, fuck yeah, that's got to be it. Like, I was ecstatic. I had to show a bunch of people, right? I was like, tell me I'm right. Tell me I'm right. And they're like, yeah, this looks right. I mean, it can't be definitive because it's not a dead on picture, but it can't not. It's more likely right than wrong, right? So, but there were other pieces that I wanted to find out as well. Like there, I feel like I just see this little square right here. I'm like, well, what's that? But I still haven't figured that one out. But there has to be stuff on the front here as well, because when you look at a picture like, oh, where the heck are they? I don't want to have to keep going back to my menu. It was, where's that Predator piece? So you see right here, there's pieces in front of that triangular piece I just showed you, like, and this one's on an angle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, what's down here? You see a bunch of stuff down here, and I just kept going back to thinking it has to be in the same kit, right? So then there's this picture, which is a front view of the silo. It's a very, very hard to see front view. Okay. And going down the front here is this white triangular piece with holes in the top. I can zoom in on it, right? White triangular piece with holes on top, and but this one's going at a different angle. So I was like, this can't be the same triangular piece that I found before, right? So again, went right back to those same 5 kits that are in there, and lo and behold, I find this. And I mean, I can't be 100% sure, but I'm pretty close. Probably more right than wrong, right?
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Remember, like
Yeah.
if you're picking from the kits, it's more
Yeah.
likely that it's accurate than non accurate for sure.
Yeah, if it was pulled from some Joe Schmo kit, that was,
And you're
not
just like,
even
oh, I found
used.
this round part. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And
That's like
even
you're trying to fit a peg. You're trying to fit the square into the circle.
right. And then even this is the part, right? So it's not exact. So you look at it and you're like, okay, well, if I cut this out, then it looks more like the shape. So there's so many ways to do this. Like I took the picture of the middle, the cross pieces in the middle, and I blew it up to real size of a measured known kit part, and blew it up to that size, and then measured that cross piece across the bottom. I'm like, it's the same measurement. It has to be the same measurement, because it comes out so close that it can't be wrong. But then I ran into another hiccup on that part right there. So on that same part, you have these 2 triangular pieces, right? And oh shit, don't you know I just figured something out. There's 2 triangular pieces, right? But if you're looking at this piece, if you're looking at this picture, right? There's this one that's on an angle, but there's nothing right here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it kind of throws you off a little bit. Is it the piece or isn't the piece? So I just said, fuck it, right? Used it, I did it, and I ended up cutting off the one side, right? Oh no, that's not the picture I'm looking for. I ended up cutting off the one side just because I feel like this triangular piece here is just here to cover up these pipes going down, and then they probably cut this piece off, right? I'm not 100% sure, but
it makes sense.
It makes sense. Yes, it's exactly right. Makes sense. So yeah, there's other ways of IDing things without knowing exactly what a dead-on picture should. So let's talk about the shadow too, Jason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a picture of it. Okay, here's a picture of the silo in the movie, right? And up here is a piece right above this shadow. This
is where things got a little interesting.
It did. So this isn't a known piece because, oh shit. Talk about it, Jason. I gotta answer this. Shit.
So, as you mentioned with the shadow, lining some pieces up and going over some images, there's been a few techniques that we were using, such as software, to take some of these older, grainier images and blow them up in higher definition, which isn't anything new or anything that we thought of. I'm sure it's used across the board, but it's just something that we were like, hey, how can we get better detail or see a little bit better into what we're looking at? Because your mind starts to, you know, draw things that aren't necessarily there. And in doing so, it starts to clean up the images a little bit. It starts to sort of, you know, um, sharpen the images a little bit, and you can start to make out certain shapes. And you also take into consideration angles and the way, the lights are set up. And if the lights hitting this from a, specific angle, it's going to create a shadow. So this shadow, I called it the dove shadow. It kind of looks like a bird to me, or something with its wings open. And Chris had spotted a piece that by placing it on, it created almost the exact type of shadow. Now, again, this is shooting for the stars, right? This is just spitballing and coming up with ideas, but that's what it is. It's idea after idea after idea until you finally narrow it down. Because most of the ideas you're just pulling out of the air and kind of you're throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. But eventually things start to stick, and you're like, hey, I think this works. Hey, I think this is a fit. And as Chris was mentioning, when you're working with a handful of kits, and it's with most models, not all, but with most, we can mention a few off the top of our heads where if it isn't something complex and made of, hundreds, if not thousands of parts, like a 5-foot Falcon, then 9 out of 10 times, if you're looking through the kits that one particular model or piece is made out of, 9 out of 10 times you're going to find the pieces within those kits.
Sorry, Jay.
No, it's all right. So I was just kind of throwing out some theories. So going back to the shadow and lighting and angle, and I was kind of just throwing out there, Chris, how you can come up with 100 different ideas, and 99 of them may be harebrained ideas, but eventually it's not like, hey, we found it right away. No, you keep going and going and going. And, it's almost absurdity until you get to the point where you're like, you know what? This is starting to make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not forcing your perspective. You're not trying to, again, force that, square peg into the round hole. You just logic starts to kick in. You say, hey, well, if I put light on it from this angle, it's creating the same shadow. That's not going to happen with just any piece or any shape. So when stuff like that starts to happen, do you doubt yourself? Of course, right? Because people have been doing this for the last 25, 30 years. And there's a handful of people that we know who do this. Like, I mean, their minds work like a model
computer
Wikipedia. Yeah, they can look at something and tell you exactly where it came from, what kit, what tooling, etc. So there's always that self-doubt and that uncertainty. But at the end of the day, as I said to you earlier today, when you mix peanut butter and jelly, you can't say it isn't a good fit. Sometimes you just get it. And, I think this is one of those instances where a couple of the pieces, specifically those two towards the bottom, are just, I'd be hard pressed to find out that that's not the case. But that's part of IDing, right? It's one of those things where you feel unsure and uncertain. But at the end of the day, every piece except for like the obvious, all had to be narrowed down and ID'd.
Yep. So you were talking about the shadow here, that how this light casts this shadow, right? And there's a piece that goes across here.
Yeah, I was calling it the dove.
Yeah,
kind of looks like a bird a little bit.
There's just this little circle right here, right? Okay, so then it casts this shadow with a circle down below, right? Again, I went through the kits that I already knew, and boom, found it.
Yep.
So, and it wasn't even like I had to cut the thing. It like sits on that ledge. Like this part here underneath is cut in half on its own. off the
Yeah, the
spruce.
length, the lip, it all, yeah, it just sits on there and fits.
Like just looking at the shadow that it shows, right? Like it shows that circular shadow, right?
Hmm.
And even
And
here,
then there you go. Yeah.
yeah. And like it's I don't have a I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99.9. It's just by casting the shadow down, it kind of gives me the same shape, and I was pretty happy about that. Like I just was like, damn, I didn't think I actually my intention was just to find a piece that looks something like something like it, a headlight for a truck or something. I was thinking, all right, I'll just put something circular there, you know, it'll be good enough, because I don't know what it is. And then just by luck, looking at the same kit, I found that circle and I found that shadow. And hey, to me, it's good. It's done.
Well, like I said, I'd be hard pressed to find out that it's incorrect, that it's wrong.
Right. So then you're also putting like, okay, so those pipes that go down, right? Okay, so this is a kit from the same part, a piece from the same kit, right? From one of the 5 kits. And I put it up against a thing and they just seem so big. They seemed way bigger than they're supposed to be. Okay. Um Thicker, I mean. And it's a case then it becomes a case where you need to shave it down. Like I shaved the sides of these suckers down so that these edges are real thin, right? Um and then it gives you, I don't think I have that picture here, but well, this will be good enough. These look pretty thin compared to the other ones, compared to those other on just off right off the spruce. A lot of
Hmm.
these pieces needed to be shaved down, cut down, trimmed for unknown reasons, right? Um, and then I ran into another problem. So I had one kit for these triangular pieces, and I ended up cutting them right above these circles because it just didn't seem like that's the way it should be. Like they should, and I ended up cutting too short. So I had to buy a whole nother kit, a whole second kit just for these 2 little pieces, right? So second time around, I got smart. Well, at least I think I did. I I cut styrene in those shapes to shave them down. Let me see if I can find that. There they are. I cut styrene in those shapes to figure out how far I need to shave down to get it right without ruining the piece. And then once I got it to a place where I thought it was good, it's ready to go. It's ready, and I'm ready. I ready to start painting it. Um, I
Another thing,
actually,
too, getting into the IDing, right? You
yeah.
almost get to the point where you have to take on different aspects of thinking. One is logic, right? Because
Mhm,
they weren't just slap happy throwing random things at these kits just because. It had to take on not necessarily a real world element, but a logical element. You had to look at it and understand that, okay, this would be something that would actually serve a purpose and
mhm,
operate in a certain way, right?
mhm,
Because from an engineering perspective, it would be random to just have something sitting somewhere that just didn't add up or didn't, really serve a purpose. So there's that part, right? Because logic was put into it to a certain level. Then the realism of it, right? Like a real world operational piece, and then convenience
mhm.
and fit. And these are the things that you kind of have to factor in. I mean, there's other factors, but these are some of the primaries. And when you do that, that's when and then also the use or the replication of pieces across the board. We talk all the time how you can pick out one piece and name 10 ships that one piece is on. So there's things that they got comfortable with, things that they got familiar with, and reused over and over. So it really is an interesting thing. But I think this particular project specifically was unique because it had only been about 75 to 80% complete for the most part.
Mhm.
And the more images I mentioned when we were on the phone, the more images that we like blew up and sort of cleaned up a little bit and got rid of some of the graininess and got a better idea of what we were looking at, we're able to start really pinpointing and saying, hey, we're not 100% correct, but I think we're 99% correct.
Mhm. And like I said, if it was from some random kit, I'd just be like, it's probably not the right one. But since it's from the exact same kits that are already well known, it was,
And already used.
yes, already
They're
used.
already being used.
Like this cross piece up here is the same kit as this came from, and then these tanks are the same kit that this cross piece here comes from, and it's just logic,
Mhm.
and again, sometimes logic it's not going to compute, right? It's not going to be correct. Sometimes they just grab something from a kit that was just laying there, and it was totally out of the ballpark of what's already on it. But in this case, it worked out. So I'm happy. Um, I started painting it. I had an idea of what I wanted to paint the thing. I wanted to paint it like Slave One ships, like the Slave One wings. Okay. So I started doing that. Like Slave One wings have a very specific formula to give it a very specific color, and the different layers are what I really wanted to get across. Okay. Because when I built Slave One, I was like, wow, I really love the look of these wings, and I think it's a really cool color. And I don't know of any other ships that have that color scheme going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I painted it, and then like a week later, I saw a real life silo painted exactly what I had envisioned, right? So, like I said before, I started painting it, and I thought it was looking good, right? It started looking good. I liked the colors a lot, and then I went a little too far with some weathering, right? Did I keep that picture? I don't think I have that one. I went a little too far with my weathering, and I wasn't happy with it. And it started getting too dark, and I just thought, this is not what I envisioned, right? So I decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna repaint it and start over from scratch. Like this is the base coat now. This is I
Mhm.
wanted the yellow in the middle, I wanted the white on the sides, and then once I take off a lot of this liquid latex, even more yellow will pop through. So this is just base color. It's gonna be weathered and everything. So streaks and misting and a bunch of other stuff. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at with this thing.
Build up from there. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I've done videos for it. If you're interested, that they'll be out sooner or later. When I get finally finished, I want to have this thing finished this weekend. So, yeah.
I think it's turned out to be a fantastic project. Initially, I don't want to say I didn't have interest in building it. It just wasn't on the top of my to-do list, but I
Yeah.
think it's definitely moved down the list closer to something I want to tackle in the next couple of months for sure.
It's just like, it's not really okay. So the towers, like some of the Death Star towers, are pretty basic. There's not a lot to them. It's a tower and cannons on top, and there's a lot more meat to this sucker. There's a lot more going on in it, and even though it's very unknown and very just background, most people don't even know it exists. It just is cool. It's just something
Mhm.
that really struck with me for some reason. I don't know why. Because mainly because I deep dived into it and found, looking into things that I wanted, finding all these kit parts. It was an obsession for me. So yeah,
I think
that's
it's
where it's
looking
at now.
great. Yeah, I think it looks
Yeah, I
fantastic.
like I like it at this stage. I want to get back to this stage from that white, by adding some, darker colors down the bottom, and I wanted to keep this more yellow in the middle. But once I started added weathering and too much grime misting, it turned a different color. I wasn't happy with it. So, like I said, it's just paint. Start over.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get too far with it. So, yeah, that's the silo. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the sandcrawler. Like I'm sure I've talked about it before. I'm building this sandcrawler, and it's a big mama. It's huge. It's way bigger than I expected it to be. I keep thinking I hear some, but it's trucks in the background. I knew it was big. I didn't realize how big it was. Okay.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised by the size of this.
Yeah. And you got to add another 4 or 5 inches of tank treads on the bottom, right? So even that's going to make it bigger. So this is the basic skeleton that I got from Marvin. It was really well done, really easy to put together, explained very well in the instructions. And then you have to skin it. So I bought these 3 by 3 sheets of styrene to skin it. You just cut it, glue it, snap it on, cut it to angles, and glue it onto this wood. So I'm at this point where I'm just starting to get into like the crevices and stuff, and this is the top where the engines are at on the front. There's the front. There's the front nose and the cockpit. It's been really fun. I think you would really enjoy this, Jason. This is a lot of fun project.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it.
And to give you a sort of an idea of how big it is compared to the sandcrawler I already made, it's double the size. It's so big. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it, dude. I honestly, I don't know how I'm going to display it. I know I'm planning on doing all kit parts, and display it with the painted version as well. But where am I going to put it? I don't really know yet. I mean, look at the back end.
Yes. It's insane, man.
It's like skinny girl, fit girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So it's a big boy. So the other thing I was thinking about was, okay, so the hero version is the finished side, right?
Mhm.
And then this is the non-hero side, okay? And on the non-hero side for the original, there's a big opening. It's not really finished. There's a big triangular opening here, and I went back and forth with what I wanted to do. And I thought, do I just put wires and make it look like the original prop, or do I, just finish it and close it off? But I think I've come up with a pretty cool idea. I hope it works out, and I hope I have time to do it. I thought about doing like a cross section, doing like the inner workings of the sandcrawler, like the cross sections from the books. Put some floors and some machinery and some catwalks and stuff inside, and that way when I take the panel off, it will, I put the panel on, it looks like the outside of a sandcrawler, and then when I take it off, you have it bird's eye view of inside of it. So
that would be amazing.
I hope I plan on doing it. I'm determined to do it. So let's just see how it turns out.
I think it's doable. It's a little ambitious, but I think it's definitely doable.
I mean, it's not like I got to follow any specific thing. It's just, it has to look like something. You know what I mean? It's not, I plan on using kit parts from my mounds of boxes that I have that I'm sure I won't use all of it. Surprisingly, I haven't used hardly any of it.
That's not the problem or the concern. The concern is when you start getting to the pieces of, the little bits of nitty gritty, and your hands in there, and the piece is glued to your finger, and your hands glued to the side of the crawler, and you're like, what the fuck? That's when you start to second guess the decision, the decision to do it.
Right. Yeah. No, I left the top open so I can work from top down. I'm gonna do one floor and then put lighting on, like lights in there so you can see it, and then do another floor. And I think there'll only be like 2 floors. One below. Like if you look at this one, it has a big open flooring here with some catwalks and turbines, and then there's one floor down here that has like a room of junk. So that I pretty much think that I'm gonna relegate it to just like one floor / roof, and then an open area where it's like catwalks and cranes and shit.
Yeah, I think it's gonna look pretty radical.
Yeah. And I toyed with the idea of doing the front, opening to open up and do this inside here, but then I just was like, fuck it. This is ambitious enough. I'll just, I like the front too much to go cutting it and putting things to make it open and close. So I'm going to keep it to just the floors. I mean, there's some cool things in here. Like this specifically is what I drew my attention in the catwalk.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting image.
It is. It's cool.
Yeah, I like looking at those. I started buying those vehicle books randomly, right? I used to go in Barnes and Nobles and they'd like randomly have them for like 50% off, and I just like flip through and be like, oh, I'll grab this for $10, and now I have a whole collection of them, and I like these images.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. Yeah, I have this book at home. I barely ever looked at it, but then I thought about it. I was like, oh shit, I'll do that. And then I broke it out and was looking at it. Yeah, that's the Sandcrawler. So guys, if you're in the chat and you have any questions, just let us know. Say hello. Let us know you're there. What's going on?
I think 11 Eastern. A lot of people are going to be watching this tomorrow.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's okay. We're here.
My friends across the pond are already in bed, and then it's the middle of the night for them, and people on our coast are settling in.
You have Andor tonight.
Got Andor tonight. A little watch party in a couple hours. Yeah.
So the laser cannon. Yeah, I had an unboxing. Okay, and it's hard to see. I had an unboxing with CC, and it's hard to see. It's hard to see in video, especially. And then I talked about it, just getting it on group therapy, but I really think like this piece needs a little more spotlight. It's fucking phenomenal. Like it's just, I literally go down and look at it every day. Steve was over this weekend and he was very surprised by the sheer size of it. And no, I didn't show him what was in my pants. But it's idealized because he added more weathering than the original did. Okay. But I love it. I absolutely love like the streaking and the splatter and just everything about it. I sit there and look at John's technique and like this oil stains up here. He added like a satin kind of little, very, very faint satin in there so that it looked a little bit like reflective oil, and on the original, there's in the cannons here, there's little orange specks of paint, and he added that as well. I have been lusting after this since I first looked at John's Facebook page for the first time when first started getting into studio models, and immediately drawn to this thing.
I see. This is the type of stuff, going back to IDing, Chris, that I love. So right there alone, you have the top panel of where the droid would sit in an X-wing.
Yep.
And then topping it off is the back end of what tops off the TIE fighter.
Here,
right there. Yeah,
these.
the tank wheel cover.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the droid strip going right down the center
yeah,
of. I mean, there's a a stug piece here, but this is what's
yeah.
on the
There's
top
small
of the next one.
variations, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's just great how across the board so many things were used over and over.
Oh yeah. They're just reused, especially like like Harrier ships and stuff like that, like Sea Lab. It's all over a lot of different things, and even though you're not seeing the pieces individually, your mind's subconsciously seeing these ships, and they have the same parts, and it makes you feel like they belong together in the same world. It's
Mhm.
it's and it's all subconscious. It's not like, oh yeah, look, that's the Harrier piece, and that ship has the Harrier piece. You're just watching this, and you're looking at these ships, and they all look like they belong together. You know, and even with like Buck Rogers and Battlestar Galactica, you look at those things, and they use the same kit parts as well, and they feel like they could be in the Star Wars universe. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, just look at the
the
look at
detail on those guns, huh?
oh god, they're big. They're actually pretty big. Oh, yeah, here's that oil stain I was telling you about right here. This is my favorite piece in my basement.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is. Oh, there's a better shot of it.
I like the way that was applied. It almost looks like, when it gets serviced, you put the panel back down, you have a spill or a little bit of a
Mm-hmm.
leak, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. It looks like when I pour oil into my car engine
Yeah.
without a funnel,
Like when you're
and
servicing something and it spills
it
over.
gets
Yeah.
it gets a little on the edges. Yeah, yeah. I mean, just look at the chipping on here and over here, and I also love he does a lot of splatter on this. No, maybe we can see the orange. Like, see, there's orange spot there, and it's there, and there, and a little bit in here and here. You could that is also on the original one. See, these are the pictures I could. These are the details I couldn't really talk about in the unboxing because video ain't gonna catch
Yeah, it's
this.
just so hard to see.
Yeah, and like John sent it, and I had to do a little bit of work to fix something that happened during shipping, and John felt really bad, and I'm like, no, I actually love doing this. Like this makes me happy to have to like do something to it and make it work a little bit better.
Yeah.
So before these were maneuverable up and down, but not really. Like, he had them wedged because he never planned on selling the thing, so he had them wedged in there so that they stood up but didn't have to move. Whereas because he sent it to me, I had to change something inside, and now they're maneuverable up and down all over the place. I mean, just it don't get much better than this, brother.
No, it doesn't.
Like this splatter here. Okay. There's different colors in there. What makes it look so organic and natural is that it's not just one color. You have greens, you have browns, you have you know yellows and blacks and grays in there, not just one black color across, because it doesn't give it any life. But because there's so many different layers to this, it just gives it a
Well,
life.
that goes back to the discussion on painting, right? I think because sometimes cleaner and neater painting, like textbook painting, right,
Hmm.
is easier to do at times.
Hmm.
When things are sort of like take real world painting, right? When you have like neo expressionism, something that's chaotic, it's much more difficult to emulate because it's messy, right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
like signing your name. You do it in such a sort of nonchalant manner without thinking. It's like breathing. You just do it. That there is no start and stop points. There's no hesitation marks. So I think when you're doing something like this, to give it that sort of quote unquote ILM look, or that natural look, you can't put too much thought into it. You kind of just have to do it. And once you get comfortable enough, it starts to really develop, and you can start to really,
Mhm.
go with that style. But I think some of the things we saw early on, with ourselves and also some others, that started out was sort of like regular model ship or tank painting, where the line work was a little too clean, the weathering was
Mhm.
a little too direct, less. It just, yeah, it needs to just be less intentional, and just you just got to go for it.
Yeah. Like there's no rhyme or reason to this. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah,
you
you can't say, "Oh, the red's gonna go here, the green." I
yep,
mean, in layering, yes, but like you can't say, "Oh, well, they put the red in this area here, so I got to put it in the exact same spot." As long
right.
as you get the feel of it right, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be in the exact same spot.
Right. And I mean, look at how many different colors can you just pick out of this? You have
Oh,
reds
yeah,
and
a
browns
handful
and
alone.
yeah, got to be six of them, seven different colors there. Bunch of different like splatter. Just taking your paintbrush and flicking it at it or something. I don't know exactly how he did it, but um, I love this. This is what I love. I love the splatter, and I try. I mean, I think I've done it pretty decent, but this is a whole different level compared to what I've done so far.
Well, another thing we talk about, because I don't get this question a lot, but I have gotten it. And people are like, "Well, why do you buy models if you can do it yourself?"
Yes.
So again, it's not something I get
And
asked a lot
Jason, before you keep going, that was my intention from the beginning. I'll paint these myself so I don't have to buy them from other people.
or pay the extra price because
Right.
you have the skill set to do so. So people know that, and they're like, "Well, why not just do it yourself?" Well, I'll tell you why not do it myself. When you are able to get work from other people, it's not only the option of displaying somebody else's work, but you actually get to learn by
Mhm.
seeing different styles, different approaches,
Mhm.
the way you can even tell the building style or building process that somebody has. You can kind of see where they start and where they end with their builds, and you you can kind of reverse engineer that in your mind, and it really is something to have for displayability, but also for learning. And I'd be lying if I didn't say some of the models that I've gotten from different people I didn't use at times as reference.
Right. Yeah. I got it. Okay, my first model that I bought from somebody, it was from, was it the Lee one or was it the Dornian? I think it was Lee's. Um, and the Dornian as well. Like I just bought it because I didn't want to take the time to build the thing because the body was a complicated. You had to fill. It was a piece of crap model kit and real thin, and you had to fill it with resin or foam or something just to get it to go to shape that you wanted to. So I was like, I'll just buy it from John instead of having to build it myself. But then once I bought it from him, it was his first piece I got from him, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm seeing how he does this and I see how he does that, and it gives me ideas on how to do things and techniques, that I can learn from and apply to mine. Also, because he has become a friend, it makes it even more special because it's a friend of mine who has built something, like what Matt used to be like, you remember Matt? He's like, I don't want something Chris built, it's just Chris, but it,
Yeah,
it's kind of that way for me. Like I would want something that of somebody I knew who had some talent built, just because they're a friend
I
of
totally
mine.
when he would say that, I totally get it. There was
Hmm.
no offense to it.
No, no, no.
It's different, right?
Right.
Um, it's one of those things where having it from somebody, like even with your own work, right?
Mhm.
There's definitely pride that's taken with your own work. But there's times where I look at my own work, and although I know it's good, I'm like, oh, I would have liked to have this person's version of it.
Mhm.
Well, it's not to say that theirs is better. It's just different. It's not mine.
Right. Plus,
Yeah,
you're your own worst critic. Like I look at some
oh,
of my things and I'm like, yeah, it looks
1000%.
good, but I feel like John's painting is way better than mine. You know what I mean? Like it's just that I don't have that ego that I think I'm that great or that, mine is as good as it could possibly be or nobody could paint this better than me. Like that never enters my mind. If anything, I'm thinking to myself, I'm still very much an amateur, and I'm just wading through, gaining experience as I do each piece, so
Yeah, I
um
think a lot of people suffer that mentality, and I think when you're doing something creative, another problem with that, Chris, and I know you can, I know you can definitely agree to this is nothing ever seems finished. It's let me
mhm,
just do this, or let me just I should have added that, or let me
yep,
put a little bit more of this because it's
yep,
that doubt, right? That
yep,
it's not good enough. It's not
yep,
you know, it's not quite the way it should be, or it's not. I mean,
yep,
perfect example. Earlier in this conversation, you mentioned how you would go in one direction with the silo, and it didn't look bad,
yeah,
but you just decided let me start from scratch. And it's you're right. We are our own worst critics, and
yep.
part of
It
that
happened to
can
me
be
yesterday, dude. I'm sending out I sent an A-wing to Christian, right? Christian goes from a hyperdrive. And as I'm in the parking lot about to tape the thing up, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, does the pilot look like the eyes? Do they look straight? I got it out. I unwrapped it, and I'm looking at him like, yeah, it looks okay, but I'll take some pencil and make it look a little bit more like he's looking in a direction and in a
yeah
specific direction. I'm sitting in a freaking Staples parking lot about to ship the thing out, and I'm I, I'm second guessing myself, and I just filled in a little bit of extra detail just to make him look off to the side like this. So, um, you're constantly critiquing yourself, and you're constantly thinking, I could have did better. Even those ion cannons, the snow.
Mhm.
You
yeah
know, a lot of people would probably look at it and be like, "Yeah, it looks great." But I'm looking at it like it looks like total dog shit, and both of them that I sold, I was talking to the people. I'm like, "Listen, I tried my best with the snow. I don't know how good it is, but to me, I felt like I could have done better." And then and I kept thinking I needed to make it like buttery smooth, right?
yeah
And then I saw Jason Eaton made one and his wasn't butterly smooth. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe mine doesn't need to be perfectly smooth, and because, Eaton's the top of top of the mountain, him
yeah
and
definitely master painter for sure.
master painter, master builder, master painter, it's just, you look at, yours and then you look at theirs and you think to yourself, okay, it's close, and they do the same thing, whenever I'm talking to John. I'm like, dude, listen, I'm telling you, like he compliments me, and I think he's just blowing smoke up my ass. But and I said to him, listen, dude, there's no painter that I think is better than your work. Like your work speaks to me, and he's like, dude, you need to fucking stop. Like, like, stop. Because he doesn't see it that way either. He sees it as he could do better as well. So
Mhm.
it's the people who look at things and they're like, yeah, this is perfect. This is great. That's the abnormal. That's not usually what an artist does. Um, I know a few, but uh, but yeah. So yeah, like I can honestly
I'm just
tell you,
as we're talking about it specifically, I'm just staring at all the different colors in this.
I know, like this section right here is crazy. I mean,
What I love about it is it looks like something that would have been exposed to the elements
yes,
and occurred over time naturally.
which is funny because the Death Star wasn't in the elements; it was in space. you know and there's no weather, There's no
Well, there's
rain.
still, I mean, out of space, you still have all the various gases and things
That's true.
bouncing
Yeah.
off of it and hitting it, and
Yeah. But I
things
don't care.
flying over it. You never
I don't
know.
care. I don't really care. I love this. Like this, I look at this part a lot. And a lot of pieces, I'll get and I'll put on my shelf. Not so much models, but other pieces like hot toys and statues and things like that. And I'll just get them and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's really cool. I'll put it on my shelf and I'll forget about it. The models that people built, I will stare at and I'll look at and I'll keep going down and looking at. Um, like I said, because I really want to learn from everybody that I come in contact with, whether it's Jason's, building and painting, and Lee Ralph's building is sublime, and John's painting is unbelievable, and I'm interested to get a piece from Guy Cohen as well, because I've heard a lot of good things about his artwork, his painting as well, and
Mhm.
he's the maker of Archive X, and he deals with a lot of different tones and stuff. And I've seen a few things, but I haven't seen anything in person yet. So I'm interested to see something from him as well. And I'm sure there's other painters out there and other artists that I don't I don't communicate with on a regular basis that they're amazing as well. I don't mean to leave anybody out. I really don't. But these are the people that I interact with on a regular basis and just admire, So there's that piece again. It truly is a work of art.
Yeah, it is.
He teased me once about getting it, and then he changed his mind. And then the second time he asked me if I was interested in it again, I was like, dude, you better not be teasing me or I will come across the pond and drop kick you. So yeah, here, look at this. Like, this is large splatter, and I would have never thought to do this. Like, this is something I wouldn't have thought to do, like big, huge splatter. I'd be too afraid to do that.
I was just gonna say, yeah, there'd be some apprehension and some nervousness there.
Yes. But it works for the piece because it's such a large piece, and it doesn't
Yeah.
stand out. I look for it. I look at it, and it doesn't stand out on it. But like this. Okay, so I've been trying to figure out myself how to get like this little patch of splatter here, right? Just this little here. Because when I splatter things, it goes here, here, here. I have to learn how to do this in a direction and concentrate it in one spot. You know what I mean?
There's all kinds of fun little techniques you can use.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn them because I'm not.
For something like that, like where you have a little bit of a heavier color and then the splats. I mean, there's always the flick of the toothbrush, but one thing that I do sometimes is I'll have just a regular paintbrush, one that you would use by hand,
Mhm.
and the air blast. So I would dip the paintbrush, hold it about 4 inches away, 3 inches away, and then hold the air blast about 2 inches away from the paintbrush, and then
Oh.
it'll just give it like a nice, just like
Oh.
that. Yeah.
Okay, never thought of
Kinda
that. Sometimes I'll take a paintbrush and I'll flick it on a toothpick.
Yep.
That seems to get as close as I've been able to get it, like this so far yet. So, yeah, I wish everybody could come and see this thing at my house. Now I have this piece, the crane, and I have this piece, and I have one of these from Jason Eaton as well. So I have the trifecta here, and I built
The tower you have is the three section like that?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Nice.
From Eaton, yeah.
I like the crane.
I love the crane, and I'm trying to get the weathering a lot like it on the silo. Oh, is that the last picture I have of this? Yep.
I've seen so many variations of the crane.
Yeah. But there is one picture that shows the actual color of it. So when I first got it from John, I thought he took a lot of artistic liberty with the color. Like this looks more brown than it is. It's more a shade of green to it, right? And I didn't know. I just thought, I thought that every picture I've seen of it, it was gray. Okay, and I've seen other people do gray. And when I got it, I thought, oh, he did a little artistic liberties. I really like what he did, but it's not the right color, right? And then I found out it was the actual right color because there's an actual color picture of this thing, and it is spot on. He added a lot more weathering. He went a little farther with the weathering, which makes it look really cool. Makes it actually look better than the prop. But it is this color. It's not gray. And what a lot of people don't understand is the Death Star, it's gray. Everybody thinks everything on it is gray, but it's not. Like we found, the Death Star tiles have multiple different colors.
Oh yeah, lots of yellows.
Yeah.
A lot of whites, frosted, misted whites over grays and yellows. Yeah.
I have that picture. Is it okay? It's okay if I show that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me find it before I'm gonna remove this and look for it because it's
talking about the one with the panel with the greens and the blues.
Yeah. Yeah. It's on our private chat, and I don't want to show that. So I'll find it. I keep getting these beeps, like something. I'm getting a message or something, and it's not happening. So I also wanted to bring up those. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring up those pictures of that I saw today on the prop den of the TIE fighter, the Vader X TIE. I thought they were really interesting. Let me bring that up so you can look at it while I'm doing that. Oh, I can't do that. I can't bring up both things at the same time. And I didn't realize. Oh, here it is. Good. Oh, good. I'm going to share this screen. There. So this is one section of a tile, and you can see it's not just gray. Okay, this is just one of them. I'll show you the next picture then.
Yeah, just one of many.
Yeah, one of many. Now, there's so many different Death Star tiles, and you really think that they're all gray, but they're really not.
Now we've seen a few, right? There's the EFX ones where it does have the coat of yellow. There's a few, even the Archive X one that you can get has that little bit of yellow, but these have muted greens, muted browns, whites, some variations of whites, some variations of grays. I mean, it's really
brownish reds. This is the color of the crane. Okay, this is the color of the sandcrawler.
Yeah.
And it's odd that that all of these tiles and all of these towers have different colors, but the Death Star is known as gray, right? It's just everything on it's gray. Even in the movie, it looks like everything is gray and white, right? But like you said, a lot of people don't realize that there are so many colors on this thing. And that I don't want just a gray Death Star tile. I really don't. Like, I want a colored Death Star tile. Like, that's what interests me,
Well, I think that's why the crane and the silo work so well.
Mm-hmm. Well, now the silo in the picture that Dennis Murin is standing right next to it, it's very white. It wouldn't surprise me if it just was a light gray, right? It doesn't. I don't think that has actual color on it, but I wanted to add color to it, and even the one I'm doing is mostly whitish gray, but there are some colors to it, like this, So, in fact, I don't know. Maybe is this Is this the armor yellow with the reefer white over top, like like
Well,
what I
look at the
originally
control
did?
box. Let's see the fans that you're on. Go up to the control box.
This one here?
Yeah, see that's less gray and more white.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more white. That's reefer white. It's gotta be reefer white over like a gray.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Look
Interesting.
at that, another X-wing panel.
Where's that?
Go right above where your
Oh yeah, right there.
I just noticed that.
The droid strip.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Now is this the Panther G? No, that's not a Panther G, right? Yeah, it is. Right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Looking at it from here. That's the back of a
Mhm.
Panther G. I love that I can look at some of these things now and say, "Hey, that's Panther G. Hey, that's you know, eh, Harrier." Like
Oh yeah, you start to do enough kits. Remember there was a time where like, how do these guys just look at this and like know that this is this piece and this is that piece? And then now I'll be working on a kit and I'm like, oh, this is from this is from that, this is from this.
Right. I'm gonna bring it up so we can zoom in on it.
I never thought I never thought I'd reach that point where I can just be like, oh, this is this piece, this is that piece.
No,
This is
I
from this.
didn't either. I really didn't. I thought that was an unattainable thing for me.
Well, because there's just so many so many kits and so many scales out there.
Yeah. There are hundreds. Okay, we're not even joking. Like there are seriously hundreds of kits. I mean, I probably have 100 kits in my garage, and I don't have hardly any compared to what there really was. But this is a beautiful tile. Like I wish it was in a prop store auction, right? Not too long ago. Is that where you found it?
Not sure if it was prop store, but it was something that was auctioned off recently. Yeah.
Oh man, this is a beauty. Get some casts of this sucker. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking up brass etchings for Death Star 2, on the construction Death Star. I was looking for the brass etchings, and that's how this came up.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, I do recognize this. I recognize this, but I don't recognize a lot of. Oh, I do recognize those right there. Those are on the
Organize
A-wing.
those, yeah.
Yeah. I'm having a hard time picking out other pieces, though. Is there anything that you recognize in this?
Yeah, there's a few. I don't know the
Really?
kit names off the top of my head, but yeah.
Is this no? That's not. I was thinking 8 rad, but that's not 8 rad. This is right here. There's the George strip as well. Just the back half cut. Yep.
It's the back half of it, yeah.
Yep.
Some pieces that go on the X1 that are on there.
Oh yeah, which ones?
The panels, the paneling, all the like repetitive paneling. I think those are from those are from some like car kits.
Okay. But to think, like they built these Death Star tiles and put a bunch of model kit parts on just for like a split-second flyby. All this work for nothing. Like
blinking, you miss it.
Blinking, you miss it. And it may not even shown up on freaking movie, like it might be just out of range of picture or the frame.
Dude, when you say that, it reminds me so much when that documentary came out recently on Disney Plus, when Lawrence told the story of how they used the 3M little bits of tape in the Death Star trench, and they're like, "Oh, we need you to go in and make it like 3 millimeters bigger," and it's like you're not even gonna see this stuff, and what a painstaking task of cutting little, teeny tiny 3M, bits out and placing them in strategic places that most people aren't even going to see because their eyes are focused on the X-wing or Vader behind them.
Yep. Wasn't there a little conversation about how much work they put into painting the Moncal Home One, right? They did that.
And also the transport ship, 3 months worth of work.
Yeah, it was a transport ship. Yep.
And he's like, you barely even see it. It takes off, and that's it.
Yep.
They painted
It's
all the
just
little boxes and stacked them and detailed them, and
yep. Painted each one and you don't see it. I mean, even that, all the colors on that, you don't see the colors in the movie. You see most people just think that's a light
just
tan. They don't
yeah, you just
and
see the shell of it, and that's it. You don't
yep,
realize there's blues and reds and yeah.
pinks and yeah. It's just all the color and people just think it's what doesn't help it though is that the toy that came out for Kenner was completely just there was no color to it. It was just gray, right?
Well,
The
we talk about that a lot. Relationship bias. The
yeah,
way you relate to the things you see is the coat blue or brown. Is the
right,
probe droid? Is he gunmetal gray or is he brown and black?
right.
We go through that a lot, especially with whether it's statue making or model making or found parts. You have to start to really discern what's the real colors versus what you saw on screen,
Plus, even if it is the real
especially for a 50
colors,
year old movie.
plus even if it is the real colors, like let's say the Pro Droid. Okay, let's say the Pro Droid with Sideshow. They're gonna put it out black. They're not gonna put it out brown because most people look
They're
at the
gonna
Pro
idealize
Droid.
it, yeah.
Yeah, they think it's gonna be brown, black, and it.
Because yeah, they have to appease the masses. If not, people are gonna be like, "Well, what's this, and why does it look this way?"
Oh yeah, they may not buy it because it doesn't go along with their logic of what color it was, right?
Their mind's eye, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this
That's
is
a that's a big thing, but I feel like it's the biggest in the Star Wars universe
oh yeah,
because we've had so many things to influence us. I mean, not a couple years, for decades. Whether it
mhm,
was the Kenner figures, or whether it was the color of a specific type of merchandise that we knew from when we were a kid, it's just a confirmation bias. And once you
yeah,
have that in your mind, it's tattooed there. There's no changing it.
mm-mm,
We
no,
talked about accuracy. We've had a huge conversation recently about accuracy that I won't get into, but that sparked a whole another tangent of accuracy and lack thereof, and it's an interesting psychological topic.
yeah, and
And this
what
is a
we're
perfect example right here.
yeah. What do you mean this? How so?
Because you say the word Death Star, what do you think? You think of
Gray?
just gray ball, gray
Yeah,
trench, gray, 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 gray.
yeah. I'll
You're not
be.
thinking muddy greens and yellows and whites.
But this is what interests me. This is like this piece here with all the colors interests me more so than a gray ball. It's just it's. But let's put it this way, okay? If you painted the Death Star with a whole bunch of different colors, right? It wouldn't look right. You know, you have like a kaleidoscope of colors on a Death Star. It's not going to work, right?
Correct.
So it works that it's gray, but this is more interesting. So, but if
Well,
they made it,
the gray gives it that cold, sort of
yeah,
uninviting feel. That very like
imperial,
stale, sterile, cold look to it.
yeah,
Um, I think these colors were made for like up close shots, battle shots.
hmm
But again, you don't see them, and if you do, subconsciously, everything is still gray in your mind because you pass by the ships pass by so quickly.
well, even in the movie, you can't slow down on it and see colors. You see only grays,
Yeah, because the frames per second in which they shot it, everything just zips.
right? Okay. Hmm. But like, there really isn't many ships in Star Wars that are one color. They're like the Star Destroyers are. They're one color. The TIE fighters,
Yeah,
they're pretty much one color. The Star Destroyers are
Tidarian and the ties and the shuttle Tidarian are the only things I know that are completely solid.
yeah, yeah,
Everything else has a little splash of this, a little splash of that, a little weathering here, a little weathering there.
yeah. So yeah, that's that was a pretty interesting conversation we had. Um, like this is the stuff that we talk about all day long. um, it's I could talk this shit all day long, all night long, and just eat it up. I really can. It's bad. My wife tells me I have a one-track mind, and she's completely right. I'll never tell her that, but she's completely right. So, yeah, I would kill for this piece. This would be a piece I would love to have.
I'd love to just crack away at one of these and build one.
Yeah,
Make a natural one out of kit parts. That'd be fun.
that would be fun. That would be interesting. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't be that hard, right?
No,
It's
it really wouldn't.
what's this? What's
ID
the
a few
base made
pieces.
of? Like foam?
It's like a biscuit foam, some styrene sheets, and I mean they vary. A majority of them are biscuit foam because they had to make 6 different panels and recast them multiple times.
Okay.
Very cheap, fast, and effectively.
Mhm.
But there's some that they spent a little bit of extra time, effort, and energy on.
Where did I save that? I saved it in my silo.
What's one of the biggest? I'm going to share one of the biggest surprises I had when I started really deep diving into models. Two of them, two different things. One was that as Star Wars merchandise started coming out and hitting the shelves, not only did they cannibalize their own pieces,
Mhm.
like you have the Vader NPC, the Vader TIE X1 is like the ATST's feet, and also the TIE bomber and things like that. But I thought it was weird how these model companies were being licensed to produce Star Wars models with tooling that they've already owned and existed because Star Wars was taking pieces from their own kits, from these companies' kits to make these pieces,
Specifically Jedi. Jedi is a lot of ships are well known for that, right?
Well, no, any of the movies. Think about it. If you have, let's say for example, a 312T or a 312B or a boat or a rocket or whatever it may have been, these companies basically were like, okay, we're now going to produce models for you, but they were using their parts to make.
Oh yeah.
You see
I
what I'm
see what you're
saying?
now. Yeah, now I see what you're saying.
And then the next thing that got me was all these years later. Not that I have a huge collection of them, but we've all, had them, owned them, played with them, collected them, or still has them. Was looking at the Kenner toys and being like, "Oh my god, that's from a Panther G, that's from a Saturn V, that's from a 312T Ferrari." Like on the Kenner toy, like they went in and emulated it pretty good, like 85%, accurate.
Well, I don't know that the old Kenner ones did that.
Yeah,
The
they're
newer,
pretty decent.
are they?
I mean, they're not spot on, but when you get familiar, you can start to make out what's what. Yeah, like look at the walkers and stuff. The pieces are
Uh,
pretty decent, man.
I'll have to look. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't have any that are open, but
I mean they're
I
definitely
know.
dumbed down compared to the modern pieces. But if you look at the modern pieces,
Yes.
you're like looking at model kit parts.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And they John told me that you could the oh shit, what
yeah.
was it? Was it
We were talking about that. No, I had said it to you. I said
Bandai?
Bandai.
Bandai
Oh yeah, he
Huawei.
mentioned the Bandai, but I had said to you sometimes I'll look at the toys
Yeah.
to get an idea of what pieces go where. And
Yeah.
if something I can't see in an image, I'll just look at the toy and get an idea from the toy. Yeah.
Specifically nowadays,
Yes, the
like
newer ones.
the Razor Crest. Okay. I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, and granted, they digitally put these on and they scaled some down and made some bigger, and they weren't the actual size of the kit part, so you couldn't use it to size things, but they had a lot of kit parts added onto this sucker, you know. And I forget, I was talking to somebody about the Slave One, and they were asking me about kit parts on the Slave One, and I was like, grab a Hasbro Slave One and take a look at the bottom of it.
Yeah, the
More than
recent one.
likely,
Flip it over. Yeah.
yeah, more than likely, you're going to be able to make some kit parts, ID some kit parts out of that sucker, you know. So
And you can, yeah.
yeah, I'll be honest, my big, huge revelation, I've been collecting for 35 years, right? I did not have the slightest idea until like maybe year and a half ago, 2 years, that they used model kits to build these things. I had zero clue. I never dived into any of this model stuff before, so it was all new to me. It was statues and figures and helmets and stuff. But when I found out that they took like pieces from tanks and ships and cars and stuff and propped them on here, and I'm like, holy shit! Like it's just, and even today, there's a guy who I get these AMT truck kits from. He's local to me, and he has thousands of them, and I buy them from him at a very low price because I buy a bunch of them. And I told him about it. He's like, "You've got to be kidding me." He's like, "Seriously? That's what they did?" He had no idea as well. It's not something that's known to the masses, and I think that's why it fascinates me so much. Is because I didn't know about this till not too long ago. You know, that's my big revelation.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It
It
is.
just reinvigorates the passion for the hobby.
Mm-hmm. I've really found my niche, whatever the word is. This is what this was the pinnacle of collecting for me. Um, I can build. I love building things. I love the vehicles from Star Wars more so than even the characters. I love the paintwork because I've always been kind of artistic in drawing and building things. And this is all just a hodgepodge of everything that I enjoy all into one. You know, um, this is what I was meant to collect more so
Yeah.
than anything else. Now, okay, so looking at found parts, we talk about found parts as well, like for binoculars and lightsabers and stuff like that. And it's basically the same thing as this. It's basically the same thing. It's just this uses model kit parts, that uses real world plumbing things, and studs on boots and stuff. And I think that's really cool, but it doesn't hit me as much as the vehicles do. Like the painting and painting and building the vehicles. The vehicles have always sung to me. I have a whole ton of. I have almost all of the vintage Kenner vehicles boxed, and they've always been some of my favorite things. Um, and that as well as anybody, the found part stuff doesn't interest me quite as much as this does. You know, um, so yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I definitely still take a huge liking to the found parts. As you know, I'm always taking pre-existing pieces like the RS Boba Fett helmets we got in, and I went in and put an original board in, Honeywell micro switch, the XS70 viewfinder, and I
Mhm.
love doing stuff like that. Did it with the backpacks, chased down all the connectors and lamp switches, and all that. The Jedi training remote, found the original parts, even the Death Star pieces. Found the original connectors that they used to make the turrets turn and pump and things like that. Even if it's just for display purposes, I like that. And working on some of the blasters recently. Been working on the Super Trooper Uzi for over a year. It's just that one has so many hard to find rare pieces. Of course, it's a lot of J.A. Mitchell turntable parts and dental parts, which are just near impossible to find, but actually grabs a lot of what I needed just recently over the last few days, and ready to actually get that thing pretty much all together. So really excited about that. But again, as you mentioned, you never would have thought that, they're using, you know, dental expanders or
Mhm.
a turntable sweep arm. It just it's radical,
It is. So I wanted to, I totally forgot. I would like to just talk about this a little bit, like um, you know, uh, prop prop den. I think it is. They they put up a lot of cool pictures that I haven't seen before, and I'm sure a lot of people have. But I some of these, like, this is new picture to me that I haven't seen before. Um, like they use the cup to cover up the window to paint this this Vader X1, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why I just found that so fascinating, but I did. I was like, oh wow, that's look at the cup, and then Cece, said
Fits
something, but
perfectly.
yeah, it fits perfectly. It's just weird and bizarre, but it's just cool, It's just and even like looking at he's building the wings to the Vader tie. He's grabbing model kit parts out of here, which is I
A
think
lot
it's
of
a
rip and repeat on that one.
I think it's a Panther G, is it?
Probably, yeah. Panther G, a lot of Tyrell P-34 pieces, and a lot of 312B pieces.
I feel like I see like Panther, right? P and an A
A lot of
there
the
starting.
Lockheed and brake pads, and
Yeah. But like, who is this person? I don't know his name.
I forget his name,
Okay.
but he pops up in a lot of images.
Does he? Well, yeah, he's in a
Mhm.
lot of these images specifically. Fleetwood Mac, Sandcrawler back here. Oh, I would kill for that picture. The original of that picture, I would absolutely like murder somebody for that.
Yeah, the bull die line of drawing that Joe did, and look at It's funny, even though that had a few bits of lights. Look how much wiring is in those.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's just
Look at the
two.
cutout for the armature on the back. Instead of
Yeah.
going directly in, it has like a nice long oval.
Now isn't that covered up with something then? Isn't there a piece that goes over top of that? Like right down here?
Yeah, but all the current ones are always made with just the circular drill in to put the armature into.
In the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows? This might. Oh yeah. Okay. There's it all goes all the way through up to here.
Goes all the way through. Yeah, it goes all the way through.
Okay. So what is Joe doing with his? That's going in the bottom, not through here, not through the top, through the back.
Well, both sides are open. The back has a panel that opens, and then you can do
Okay.
it from the bottom. And then if you want to remove a wing, if you had to, the side as well.
Interesting. I love these pictures where they're sitting there building these things. I really do. This guy had a lot to do with the Vader tie.
Mm-hmm.
He really did. Look at the whole stereo system. Love it. So here's some actual pictures of the real one.
Yeah,
Now
and
that
this wasn't a ship that they made 4 or 5 versions of. I think this is only one,
there's only
possibly
one.
2.
Okay.
Yeah. Could be wrong. Possibly 2, but I don't think there's a bunch of Vader ties. Like TIE fighters, I had Hera ones. There's the A New Hope ones. There's the repainted ESB ones. There's ones
Yeah.
that they just recast out of just resin and slap some paint on them,
Pyros.
Pyros, yeah.
Look at the machinery they used, like to move it and
Dude, there
film it.
was speaking of the machinery, there was a charity auction about a year and a half ago, and they had in that auction, it was one of the camera armatures, right? Like one of those that you would put the ship on, and it would turn it and lift it and spin it, and it was two, I would assume boom arms or light fixtures or something along those lines, and they were sprayed and tagged ILM. They were used, they were confirmed with a certificate of authenticity and everything. And it was for a charity auction, but it was a set price. It was bananas. It was like 25 G's for a couple of
Wow.
rods. But how cool would that have been to have like a 1/24th scale tie or X-wing on one of the armatures, and on each side have your ILM boom lights from like the set.
It'd be cool.
It
I'd
would be
dress up in.
it would be a nice setup.
I would dress up in pink underwear, pink shorts and get a boom out and stand over top of it.
Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah. There's just a lot of this. If you haven't checked out this site, they really do have a lot of different cool behind the scenes photographs. Here we go. Gray. All gray.
Well, what we think is all gray.
Yeah. Now this is it in a museum now. I didn't realize this. I didn't
Yeah, the
see this
two
before.
wings, one shifted back and the other one's falling off to the right.
I think this is the identities that are in Japan, right?
I believe so. I could be wrong. I don't know if it's the mom exhibit or the identities one.
Is that
And
still
then
around?
there's screw holes in the top and the angular wing parts that come down, and I'm assuming that was a way to tighten or put extra tension in the wings as well. I'm wondering. I don't know for sure.
Jason, what is this made of right here? The black texture. That's
I
not
don't
cool
know.
shade.
The
Right?
honeycomb stuff, I don't
Yeah.
know.
You don't know.
That's not cool shade. That's just some honeycomb texture. So I don't know if it like pre-existed like as a Plastruct or Evergreen product that they just used. I know somebody didn't sit there and carve the
No.
little divots out.
It
So
had to be
that
bought somewhere.
exists as that's just a pre-made product that they cut and
Is it a
lined up.
known part or is it just you don't know it off the top of your head?
I just think I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm curious. Let me take a peek.
I mean, look at different lighting. Completely different ship by different lighting. This is a heavy flash. And then this is, not.
Well, this is why it's so tricky to get down the color of them. Everybody
Yes.
thinks that they're, either blue or gray, and they're actually a grayish blue.
Yeah. Like this looks very gray.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
But you
just
see
a
how
flash.
see what I mean? See how the other wing on the other side is lopping the other way?
Yeah, it's tilting.
That's how you know it's the original X1, yeah.
Yeah. So this one doesn't look like it's changed. Is it this one that's loose? The right one?
They both are.
Okay. Just give it to me. I'll fix it up. Now these are the parts that you were unable to ID, right? These are the
No,
ones that
those I
you
was able to. The ones inside there's two small openings on the back
these
panel of the
on the back.
back panel of the ship.
Okay.
Inside there, I had a hard time.
Got it.
Those I was able to. I got almost all of those.
You know what's funny is some people will paint it like this color and they'll say it's accurate, and they'll paint it like this color and say it's accurate.
Yeah, you have to go right in between.
Yeah, you do really. But see, Stormy Sea is one of those chameleon like colors, like reefer white is. In different
Oh,
lights.
it could be 6 different shades depending on the lighting it's in.
Right. And also it can be completely different depending on what the base color or primer is. Like especially reefer white, like that yellow I'm using makes it completely different color than if I have a black primer underneath it or a gray primer underneath it. So you got to take a lot of different factors into account. Lighting, primer, base coat, it's not just slapping paint on it.
A base coat will definitely affect the top coat,
right?
On most colors. And then when you have a lot of people will put down multiple coats of something, but a quick trick is when you're trying to lay down 1 or maybe 2 coats only, you can always add white. White's going to lessen the opacity of a color.
Plus, I feel like a lot of people, when they're painting, will lay down a color and make it solid by, like doing multiple layers to get a completely solid color. Whereas I feel like I don't ever do like a solid color. I'll make it blotchy and like different in different sections and lighter and darker in different spots because it gives it more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? More character to the color, and it also helps with weathering too. It'll make it look more weathered if it's black, blotchy or patchy or, and going back to what you said about, the color may be completely different because of the base color. Just take my sandcrawler into account. Like I told you about this the other day. We talked about this the other day. My sandcrawler I painted the roof brown. If I had used a darker gray primer, I wouldn't have gotten that light reddish brown color I wanted. But because I used a white primer, the roof brown came out a lot more reddish and lighter because of the primer underneath. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when you're painting something, you got to take a lot of different things into account, lighting, color, and base color. Like, look, this is completely different. You see this, Jason?
Yeah. Look at the thing that holds the wings.
Yeah, it's backwards.
It looks like one of those things that you would put in like drywall, doesn't it? That like flaps open once you screw the screw in.
Say that again.
So the thing holding the wings, it looks like a drywall anchor.
Drywall. These here?
Yeah. I mean, it's not because it's much larger, but that's what it looks like.
Oh, you mean a toggle bolt?
Yeah, like the bulldogs the large ones that when you screw it, it flaps open.
Yeah, they're called toggle bolts. They have like a spring mechanism that once you put it through the drywall, it pops open and then sucks it up against. Yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. This is true.
Weird, right?
It is. I never seen this picture. Now this looks like the beginnings of a tie interceptor.
Mm-hmm.
And I love bench ones like this because you get to see, like, you think that you like my desk where I build things is, after a session of sitting there for a couple hours, looks like this. And every day I got to clean it up because if I don't, I'll lose my mind.
But this is where you can see all the casts. Like, look to the right of the tie.
Yeah,
and you can see the cast
going
on the other side.
Oh, the left here?
The resin cast ties.
He's
and the
over here,
wells slide in the...
Yeah. And then you can see back here
all the kits. Yeah, try to make out the images and what kit it is.
That's a little blurry. It's hard to see. Look at the pile of spruces. Like, they're just thrown in there, and I'm sure like somebody needed a part for this right here, and they just grabbed that piece right off there and plucked it on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they did.
Mm-hmm. I love looking at things like these pictures. These fascinate me.
That's awesome.
It's so dumb that I'm fascinated with this, but I really am.
Look at this. Look at the wood there. You go back. They're using wood for swatches. Look at the different tones of blues.
Where?
Right there.
Here?
Where your mouse is. Nope. Go to the front.
There.
There. Look at yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're spraying it. See?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a 2x4.
Yeah, there's different tones of different swatches they're making.
Yeah. And you can see that it's these colors here.
Yep.
Darker blue, darker gray, lighter gray. Now, Stormy Sea, though, varies with every movie too, right? There's different shades of blue as well, right? So the New Hope ones are more gray, and Return of the Jedi ones are more blue. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Stormy Sea like a just a color that was mixed? It wasn't like a bottle on the shelf that they bought and just used it. They mixed a couple colors to make Stormy Sea.
No, I think it was I think the brand was Pascha. not
Okay.
Posca, but I think it was yeah, it was a different brand that they used initially, and then from there, I think it was some mixing. Don't quote me on that; I could be completely wrong, but from what I gather, I think initially that's what was done, and then I think they mixed them up a little bit
Now
to
I
get
know.
better because there was a lot of issues against the blue screen.
Yeah, I know that everything is not. You still there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Jason?
yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I just saw my picture drop out. I thought my internet was not working great. But I know that. Did you hear what I said about this? This paint was an acrylic, not an enamel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. You know what's funny? Okay, you look at this thing, and you think to yourself that this must be a prop, and it's got some weight to it, and it's like. But really, these things are freaking light as hell, and made of styrene that's could fall apart if you crumble it the wrong way. Like
Yeah.
they're
Very
so. What's that?
Very fragile. See right
Very.
there. Go over. Take your. Keep going. Keep going. See that little hole. Go a little bit more to the right with your mouse. Did you freeze on me? Nah.
Yes.
Did you
Yeah.
freeze on me? Yeah.
Well, yeah. This internet's not great.
Right there. Go a little bit more. See that hole? Yeah. Right in
Yeah.
there is where I had a hard time making out the parts.
I thought it was the front. I thought when
Everything
you were
else is
talking.
names. No, the front. There's some dead on images that just show you everything that's in those areas. Yeah.
So this is where that pole was going up, and they stuck this over top of that opening. So underneath there is that.
Yep. And you can
armature.
pop that panel right off and
Yeah.
go
I can
from
start
behind. And,
right there is a curve where the pipe goes in.
yep.
Now is this whole thing a kit part? This thing here?
A couple different ones. Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating.
See, yeah, you can see right. If go back and blow the picture up, you can see right in there. You'll even
Yeah.
notice there's a piece on your silos, the guns. They're right and sitting in the middle.
A piece on my silo.
Yeah, the two guns going up the side, the tank guns, the chins of the AT-AT.
It's not on the silo.
Here it is. Yeah. Yeah, they go right up the side of the silo.
What?
The mouse is right on it. Just run it across.
This here.
Right there, yeah.
That's on my silo.
Yep.
Where? Hold on.
Look right. Let me see. Look at the back here. There, right there. See them in
Where?
yellow? Right there.
Oh, these are Panther G
Yeah, that's
cannons.
what's going across the yeah, so going right across the center of the inside of the.
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, Panther G is everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, the Jedi training remote's made up of like 8 of them.
Huh. Everywhere. C-Lab, Panther G, Harrier, everywhere. And like I'm trying to build this sandcrawler, and I need 12. Well, okay. From what I understand, I can get away with 4 Jag Panthers and 8 Panther Gs, because Jag and Panther G are somewhat similar except for a few parts. But I'm having the damnedest hard time finding Panther Gs. I found 2 in like a couple months, and they're hard to come across. And I need a lot of them for the sandcrawler. And it's going to frustrate me because I am kind of patient, but my patience wears thin every now and then, So, but I think we've been on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
You got to get up. You got a show in a couple hours. Not me. I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I'm going to try to sleep an hour or 2.
I got to work tomorrow in New York. I don't want to, but I have to. So, yeah, there's Panther G up here. There's Panther G here. Yeah, there's Panther G everywhere in Star Wars. dude, this became a very expensive model, actually. Because in all seriousness, you need 3 C-Lab kits for this. You need 3. At least 3. If you want to do it, you could get it. You can get away with 3, but really you should have 4 because of the one part. But think about 3 C-Lab kits for just this and a Panther G.
Yeah, that's some coin right there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, all the rest are pretty cheap. The tanks, the tanks, and the tow truck, and you know, I think there's what else? There's some more hubcaps up here from another tank. But Panther G and C-Lab are not cheap. So I'll have the video out soon, probably next week. I'm gonna finish painting it this weekend, I hope, unless my wife wants me to do a lot of housework. So we'll see. But you good, Jay?
Yeah. Yeah.
You good? It was interesting. I had a lot of fun. Not a lot. We didn't have any chat in the comments at all. I thought maybe we didn't have several people say hello or anything.
I think it was very last minute. I think it was it's pretty anytime you do, if it's unless it's scheduled a day or two before, people know it's coming. I think whenever you do anything past 10 p.m., it's a Tuesday night. It's the timing.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those videos that those who are interested will listen to it tomorrow. People will listen to it on their way to work, or but it's also another one where like you can listen to group therapies like in the background, ambient noise, and kind of laugh. But when we're talking this stuff, you kind of need to watch it to get the visual, to see the images.
Yeah, because you can't really think about what we're talking about. It helps to have a visual view of it. Now looking back at this, I kind of really like this, and I could do this. I can do this again. I just hope it turns out this good.
Yeah. Looks great.
We'll see. All right. Well, night, everybody. I think that's good. And join Cece and Jason and Matt tonight. Is Matt coming?
Yeah, Matt will be there. Matt will be on Andor with us.
Yeah, join Matt. Hey, there's John. We got our first comment.
Hey guys. Hey you guys.
Hey you guys.
You're up early.
Yeah, it's 5:30 a.m. for him. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta go back and watch. We're about to get off. We might have talked about you a little tiny bit. So
I wasn't talking shit. Chris was. No, I'm kidding.
No, Jason always.
It was all good things. All good things.
Yes.
Nothing but.
All right, man. Night, John. Just open my eyes. And the first thing he does is come on our channel. How's that for you? Dedication. Love it.
Addicts. You bunch of addicts.
You really are. All right, man. We're going to bed. I'm going to bed. I got to work tomorrow and probably get up in like 7 hours. I get to actually sleep a little bit because I drove out to New York just because instead of getting up real early in tomorrow morning, I drove out here tonight to stay in a hotel to start early.
Yeah,
that turned out nice.
A quick cat nap and then doing a watch live at Andor.
I was really worried that this wouldn't look natural. Like it wouldn't look like it fits, but it does fit. I think.
So, right, John, what do you think if you're still watching? I mean, Chris crazy for thinking this fits, or?
Oh yeah, I have talked to him at nauseum about it too.
Is it just forced perspective?
John,
That t-shirt looks good. I gotta get another Rogue 16 t-shirt. I gotta order another one.
I want more. This t-shirt is exceptionally comfortable, and if they I haven't looked in a while, but if they, I told my kids I'm gonna buy them a couple of them, but I never did because it went out
You're
of
damn
stock
right
for a
that,
little while.
dude. You're
Huh?
damn right they're comfortable. You have no idea. People don't. I don't think people realize and or appreciate. Because the channel isn't nearly as big as what it was 2 years ago. But I
Hmm.
don't think people appreciate the amount of time, effort, and energy that went into it. Me and Matt had scoured over so many different brands and so many different blends of different cottons. We didn't just remember we discussed it. It was like everybody was throwing a link below the YouTube channel to go buy shirts off of like Zazzle.com or some dropship place that would just print to order. And we were like, we're not going to sell shirts unless it's something we would actually wear ourselves. And
Hmm.
are they a little bit pricey? Yeah, they're not $10.99. They're like $35, but they're tri-blend cotton. I think American Apparel are even better, and they're so comfortable and they just fit so good.
Yeah,
That's
they're
why
really
I actually
soft.
need a new one. I actually need a new one because I wore mine so much it's all like worn out.
I actually have to take it from my wife because she steals all my shirts to sleep in, and this is like one of the more comfortable ones I have.
Oh, totally.
But
I like John's comment. The fact he's ID'd it with shadows. John, don't let him fool you. That was me pointing out the shadows
shut up.
in the shape. Dude, how many hours did I sit there and say, "Hey, what about this? Look at that. What about that?"
You're full of
Even the
shit, dude.
triangular pieces, I'm like, cut them down from the back. Cut them down from the back. They'll fit.
Trying to steal my thunder as usual.
Dude, come on. Come on.
You
That
did
was
not do
it was a
anything of the
50-50.
sort.
That
What are
was a
you fucking
50-50.
talking about? No way. I sat there looking at these things for hours,
You're really
and I
gonna
showed you
all
these
right.
things.
Nobody's denying that you're obsessive compulsive, but how did you come on, man? No. What? He didn't ID that sucker on his own.
I most certainly did, actually. I
Really?
showed you them afterwards. In fact, the triangular pieces was last week. Remember?
Okay. Okay. Next next time you need help, I know what to tell you. Dude, I had you how many hours did you stay up that night playing with the image software?
Yeah, we were looking at the image software to get clearer pictures. Yes.
Yeah, we figured out a few different things. The other day, you
Okay.
couldn't even get the angular parts to line up, and I'm like, "Hey, man, you got to cut those from the back. Trust me, you cut them from the back, and they fit." And you're like, "Those are them." It's all
Hmm.
right. It's all right. I thought it was a team effort. I was wrong. I was wrong.
It, back and forth. Yeah, we talked about it a lot. This is
Yeah,
true.
right. Okay, we're just having fun, man.
The fact that he has ID'd it with shadows and reflections is crazy. Yeah, I, that was all accident. I was going through that kit and plucked it out and put it on and looked at it and I was like, "Oh fuck, there's the shadow. There's the fucking shadow." Like that's exactly. It was just pure luck, more so than anything, because I was going for truck headlights on that sucker, and I thought, all right, well, I'll just look in, the kits that I have, and fuck, it had that cutout, it had everything, it just was lined up perfectly, and just looking at it under the shadow, I was like, complete blind luck because I wasn't thinking that would be the right part.
That was one you did nail, and I remember you hit me up and being like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that has to be it. If it's not,
Yeah,
then it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
the chances of it being not is just too far off."
yeah. All right, John, our one viewer. Um, good night, everybody. We'll do this again in a little bit. For the 8 people who are watching.
We actually have a little bit of a. I'm not going to announce it now, but we actually have a few things picking up towards the end of the year. We just got to sort of get some schedules in line, but I think we have 2 guests, and 2 shows potentially that may be happening, or hopefully will be happening. And then I think we'll probably try to announce those at the end of next group therapy. Was group therapy this week? Nah.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I heard nothing. It was just
Oh, I was talking about group. I was asking if group therapy was this week.
yeah, I heard you say that about Friday.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna cut it out while I still have internet and say goodnight to everybody.
All right. Good night, guys.